Hey, we are Nickelback, and we've got a brand new record called Get Rollin'. We just did the Zach Sang show, and we talk about life, love, and tragedy. Check it out.
Hello, beautiful human. Thanks for clicking on our conversation with Nickelback. These guys are icons. I know. You may not like them or whatever. Leave those opinions for the end of the conversation. Also, leave those opinions for the comment section below. They have a brand new album out. It's called Get Rollin'. We're discussing it. Plus, we're talking about all their timeless records, all the culture they've helped create. I mean, again, say what you want, but these human beings are absolute icons and, like, some of the greatest musicians to ever come out of Canada. So, a lot to get to. Today's conversation being delivered to you by GoPuff. GoPuff is changing the way we get things delivered. Anything you want, pretty much instantly. You can order literally everything right in the palm of your hand. I GoPuff literally every day, and that's not an exaggeration. If you want to save some money when you GoPuff next, just use the code ZAC10 when you're checking out. Everything from snacks to booze to home goods, electronics, all available right in the palm of your hand. The next time you need something, GoPuff it. And use ZAC10 when you're checking out if you want to save $10. You'll save $10 off your first 2 orders, by the way. ZAC10, use it. Try it. Test me. Here's Nickelback. That's it. This is the year's 2023. We're always on. Hi, beautiful human. My name is Zach. That is Annalie. Welcome to the studio. Nickelback.
Right. Golf clap.
I'll clap for myself.
Golf clap.
Oh, nobody else in there. Okay.
Dude.
Go ahead, you narcissist.
Hooray, me. Soak it in, guys.
Does this shit ever get old, honestly? Because, like, you're pushing a new album, you're doing the promo run, and when you guys do the promo run, you're actually running. Like, you're actually sitting down and talking and meeting people. And the God's honest truth, and correct me if I'm wrong, I would assume that Nickelback is, you don't need to make new music if you didn't want to make new music. Is that right?
True.
This is so hard.
So we're doing
What
it.
you're
We're
saying
doing it
is
for the
what we're doing
love
is
of the
very hard.
tunes.
We're doing it for spite.
This is just
Purely out of spite. People that don't want us to make music. It sounds ridiculous, but we're lucky enough to be in a position where, like, we've got songs. We've got enough repertoire that I guess you could say that some people might walk away not happy if we don't play the song they want to hear.
Yeah.
Right. And let alone stuff like fan favorite, but then there's like B-sides that we like or somebody else might like. It's a good place to be, but you start to look and you see these acts are like, oh, they should be playing like a 4-hour show, which would kill people. I think it would be like tough to sit through a 4-hour show, but when you hear like Springsteen or something like, or U2.
By the way, Springsteen will go for 4 hours.
Oh, I know he can. I know.
Yeah.
He's a champ for sure.
But
he's a unique guy.
Is it hard knowing that, like, not all your records end up getting the same amount of shine in a live set?
Well, that's kind of the nature of the beast. I mean, we could be selfish and look at each other and say, hey, do you guys want to play some stuff that we really enjoy and then just listen to crickets after performing it? Or do you want to play stuff that the entire building's going to sing along to?
What a great problem.
It is deflating to a degree, like on a small level. I mean, all the good side, runs that right over. But, yeah, I mean, of course, there's always, like, we've got favorites that we really like, not a ton. We like the ones that we played live, obviously. But there are favorites that we would like to get in there. But, I mean, you'd have to change it up every night, I guess, and we try our best to do that.
If you reach into your pocket and you pull out your hard-earned money and you go to see your favorite band and they play nothing but album cuts that you not only don't know, probably don't like, and they don't play one of your favorite songs, you'd be pissed.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And that would hurt my relationship with that group forever.
Yeah. There you go.
So do you have to, and I'm assuming this question comes up a couple times throughout your history, do you have to answer the question of, like, who are you making music for or who are you performing for? Is it yourselves or is it the people who are paying to come and see you?
It's a question, yeah.
You already brought that up yourself. We don't have to do anything for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't had to do anything for the rest of our lives for probably the last 3 records.
Isn't that fucking crazy to say,
But
though?
It's ridiculous.
It is.
It really is.
But because we got to do something we love doing and make a really good living at it and not have to worry about money anymore. So now we look at each other and go, you guys just want to tour the old stuff or do you want to make a new record?
Well, if we want to necessitate more albums. Like let's just get divorced a whole bunch of times, and then we'll have the fire under our ass again.
But when you
so then we'll be doing it for selfish reasons.
yeah, exactly. But when you look at each other and we go, should we make another record? And the answer is all four of us unequivocally is yes, we should. If we're going to do that, and you want someone else other than the four of us to hear this music, we're going to have to do the same thing that every actor has to do when you make a movie. You're going to have to get out there and promote it. Totally. You're going to have to tell people about it because we want people to enjoy the music that we busted our asses to make. So we get out there and we're talking to Zach and Dan. Let's go.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about, like specifically to your question. I know what you're talking about. When you do your first album, like you're like, this is us. And there's no baseline like, are you going to disappoint fans because they're not hearing something they've expected? Like that's different, right? I think because it's just you. And then when you start getting into it, that's when the expectations, undoubtedly come into your decision making. Where it's like he said, do we go up and play the new album and show them that this is our new sound, or do you still play some of the hits? Right? And do you omit that, or do you consider that? You have to consider that. I think it's going to change the way you think to a degree. Where, like you said, if we go out there and we don't play How You Remind Me of Rockstar, we're going to have probably pissed off fans.
Yeah, they're going to be angry.
Yeah, even though you're like, hey, we love this new album. We want to play the whole thing. Right?
Do you
Can't
guys
be that selfish.
Do you guys ever get tired of playing the songs over and over, or are they just exciting because of how the fans react to them?
If we look down at the set list and I was to say, and I saw a song, and right before we started the tune, I look up and I'm like, oh, not tonight. If that even entered my mind for 1 second, and then we play the first chord, and the whole place goes nuts and starts singing every word, and I can just lean back and I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Never made it, and boom, and the whole place just goes, and I don't have to do anything. I'm just play the rest of the chords. Instantly, you're like, yes, this is great. There's no moment where
It's
that's
also
everything.
the same. It's the same songs, all the time, right? But you're in a different room full of different people every time, so it's not. It's
It's the
fun.
first time they're hearing it. Like you guys hear it every night. It's the first time they're hearing
On
it
that
live.
tour, at
Or
least,
it's the like we've talked about this before. It's the excitement. And speaking of this as a fan of music, it's the excitement of like you hear the starting chords of a song you love. And you're standing next to your buddy or your wife, or your girlfriend, whoever it is that you remember that moment and you turn to them and you're just like you start singing, or you're excited because the song is coming. We see that. I see that.
Yeah.
That's the energy.
It's
We're
a
like,
lot of fun.
This is new.
For us to look out at the audience and all of a sudden you start playing and say it's a group of like 4 girls or 3 dudes, whatever it is, and you start what is obviously their song, and they'll look at each other like, oh, and you can just see them, and they all start just screaming. They're screaming to the stage. They're singing to each other as loud as they can. We can see this. We're watching it happen. And I'm like, obviously this was your favorite song. It's one of
that
those.
makes it not get old. It truly,
Yeah.
that's the part.
But then you have the odd people who got there in the morning. They got to the very front. They're in the front row, and they're like this the whole show.
You're like, what are you camping
I'm
out
like,
for?
why did you fight to get to the front? What is happening here?
I think you're talking about that European girl who's come to the last 40 shows in a row.
And
She's having the time of
and
her
they're
life. It just
enjoying it
doesn't
the way
look
that
like
they
it.
want to do it, which is great. I think that they're awesome in their own way for sure. I mean, that's dedication. Holy smokes! Appreciate that.
You guys have a crazy story, and I want to get into it because at one point you all did something besides play an instrument and make music for this band. You ran the business of what it meant to be a band. You also came up at such a unique time in just Canadian history, right? And how the Canadian government chose to respect and appreciate the artists that were homegrown and the platforms that they were choosing to give them, which, by the way, are practices and government programs that still exist today that you can credit with helping give way to The Weeknd, Justin Bieber, Shawn Mendes.
Bryan Adams.
It's fucking
Yeah, all of them.
crazy.
Yeah.
All of them.
CanCon is wild. And I knew it very intimately because I spent 5 years on the radio in Canada and I had to understand the programming tactics, right? Like, what portion of a playlist has to be Canadian grown?
35%.
And how incredibly, like, that just gave me goosebumps. Like, that exists,
Well,
I don't think anywhere else.
OzCon, Australia has it as well. Because what you're trying to do is
Quebec has it as well, I think.
you're trying to promote local talent. Otherwise, you just get run over by the biggest of the
The Americans
world.
come in.
No,
Run over everyone.
We
takes
share all
over.
of our radio waves and television waves like with America, right? So it's like, yeah, I grew up on American television. I grew up on Schoolhouse Rock. I mean, I knew how a bill was passed before I even knew it in Canada, or in America, and then in Canada. So yeah, he's right. That's kind of that's always been a kind of double-edged sword. People are like, oh well, they're forced to play Canadian music. Well, I understand that. The people getting frustrated, but yeah, if we don't, you just get inundated with so much, just by population. There's so much stuff, so they try to protect it how they can. These days, I mean, you put up anything and it's worldwide.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much that plays a ton today. But it's a whole different landscape today. Obviously.
Television is probably affects television far more than it affects music because of all of the DSPs.
Yep.
Do you look at that though and think to yourself, like, a part of the reason why you get to choose to make music, you don't have to make music, is because of that initial push? Because I don't believe that CanCon has any sort of, or OzCon, it doesn't determine who becomes successful. It just puts you at an equal playing field with the bigger guys, and then the audience still is there to determine it. You get what I'm saying?
The market will decide, right?
We had
totally.
to become big in the U.S. before 3/4 of the radio stations in Canada would play us, because they're like, well, like, prove yourself. Because there was all these bands like 5440 and Matthew Good and Tragically Hip and all these other bands.
Ever heard any of them?
Not really.
See, that's the thing.
Well, the Tea Party, that's a Canadian.
Tea Party, yeah.
Yes.
So there was all these bands that I think it really did help protect and promote and stop from being like completely bulldozed over by artists globally. We had to come to America, get an American record deal, go top 20 in America before most of the radio stations in Canada would play us, because they were just like, you're just kind of whatever, because Canada, not unlike the UK, really likes to eat their own.
That's really kind of fucked now.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up.
I'm not sure if that's completely. I mean, like, I agree with that.
How many would you like me to name?
No.
And I will name them by name, the program directors.
No, hang tight. No, I mean, but
We don't keep receipts.
The correlation isn't necessarily causation, is what I'm saying, because in that sense, because I do agree with him, because I remember that vividly. But we were independent, like you mentioned before. We started stuff on our own, and we were charting, and you would see the charts, whatever the chart magazine was, and it would be like, number one is this rock band from America, this American band, this Canadian band, this whatever it is, and it would say BMG, MCA, and it would say, I don't know where we were charting with Leader of Man, maybe 16, and it would say Dash. Where is the label? It's just nothing. Like, we had no play, or no press push from the label. Stations weren't playing us, but it was also when we were starting to come up on our own, there was still this, it was a lot of, the labels were all jazzed about, they go through cycles, right? They go through bands, or rock bands, or pop, or it was female solo artists at the time. It was like Sarah McLachlan, Paula Cole, and like fantastic
Alanis Morissette, Sheryl Crow,
fantastic musicians, and they were like all over the airwaves. So there wasn't even, not only did we not have label push, but there wasn't really room for what we were doing at that moment. I think we were ready. We were there in the game, ready for when rock really started to kind of take off in the early 2000s, because we're talking like 98, I think.
I think what Ryan's trying to say is they didn't eat us right away. They fattened us up for the market first.
Yes.
And then when we became successful, quote unquote, that's when they ate us.
We were definitely on the menu, that's for sure.
For sure.
Grab that and let you sit on. Your legs are going to be so sore.
No.
Wow. Oh, my God.
A little pillow?
No, I was just going to grab. I was looking at that end table there, but I wasn't sure if it was fixed on something. I was going to grab it and so you could sit
Jen,
on
their
it.
publicist right now, is crouched in the corner.
Jen's
Like
a soldier.
you're a real hero.
Also, Daniel, are you getting a little hot in here?
Why am I red?
Well, I saw you wipe the sweat off your face, and that's
No,
Chad's
I'm just a
fault.
drunk. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
That's just grease. Don't worry about it.
Chad's in charge of the weather in here, so.
By the way, we do have an album, which is here. It's called Get Rollin'. But it is surprising, obviously, that to any of you that you are still making music today, because when you have a history that is literally decades long, there have to be bumps and moments where you question whether or not, like, am I going to keep moving forward with this?
Nope.
Never?
No. We've never hit a bump that large that made us not want to make music.
What keeps you all together?
This is a great gig, dude. We travel around the world. We walk on stage and thousands of people every single night start singing our tunes back to us. we've had a lot of straight jobs. Like day jobs suck. Let's just be honest.
This is nothing.
Manual labor sucks. Like hauling 90-pound shingle packs up and down a ladder all day long in the rain, as a roofing gig sucks.
Work. You know, the secret to our longevity is not quitting.
But are there moments where you had to convince or remind each other that, like, this is not manual labor, our lives are fucking sick?
No. We're all very grounded in that sense. At no point in time to any of us do we have to sit down and go, hey, there's other jobs you could be doing. The only time
internal conversations.
Those are internal monologues.
in the beginning, right before we got signed, right before we made the record that got us a record deal, we were so far in debt. What did we owe?
A lot.
40?
Well,
$40,000,
$50,000.
$50,000.
A
How
lot
much
for
did we
people that had like really basic
bank
jobs.
loans?
Yeah, like
We had a line of credit with a
close
bank.
to 40 grand. Probably.
Like we owed so much, and we just kept borrowing more and more money to make these records independently, press these CDs independently, distribute these independently.
What kept you going?
Not wanting to do a straight job. No,
with no hope and no collateral.
Chasing the dream, dude.
Forward.
Chasing the dream and running a high level of bullshit and trying to convince these guys that at one point in time he said, are these songs that we're about to go and record worth how much further we're about to go in debt? And I told him, I said, absolutely. And I was running a high level of bullshit.
But you need that almost to keep going. It's like,
yes, I'm a used car salesman.
Well, the true answer
I'm not
would
really
be,
a used car
I
salesman,
don't
but I
know.
still consider myself like I get out there every night and I just sell bullshit.
Yeah.
But
you believe it.
I'm in sales.
Yeah. Totally.
The songs we write now are far better than the songs that we used to write.
He's partially correct, I think, because yes, he runs a high level of bullshit. I will agree with that. but to give me a little bit of effing credit, can I say effing on this?
Yeah,
one?
you can.
Yeah.
You could probably say whatever you
Effing
want.
credit. I'm only going to say effing. I don't want to. What were you talking about? No, I hearing the songs, I was like, no, these are like they're good songs. When it was the state, I'm like, these are good songs, and it's like, do we want to take the gamble on that?
That was the album. It was
Yes.
called The State.
Yeah, sorry, the state. It was the album. Yeah.
by the way, that album changes your life.
That album changed.
It absolutely
changed our
did.
lives.
But what I was going to just briefly say about why we didn't quit because of this is like it was like this. The career, the band was like this. It wasn't like this. It wasn't like this.
The trajectory was always
The
up.
trajectory was always
Yeah.
something a little bit better was coming on down the road. We got a little bit more money for this gig. Yeah, got a few more radio stations on board or whatever it was. There was always something positive that was happening. It wasn't just treading water. So that's why I was like, there's something here that's working.
It was never stagnant.
I believe in this.
Yeah.
I believe in this, and some other people do too. It's that simple, and that helps you. Your own self-belief in whatever you're doing can be great, but you can just you can go do that till you're pounding sand, and it doesn't matter if you just believe in that and it doesn't work. But it was kind of working, so that's why we kind of felt this is going to go somewhere.
Very slowly.
Yeah.
Like achingly, glacially slow.
Yeah.
But isn't
But
that
it was moving up.
Isn't that the everlasting success? Like things that shoot up too quick, things that, I don't know, like greatness is not built overnight. It's really built over decades and years, like it takes a moment. And by the way, your first body's work hit in 96. You're talking about an album that comes out in 2000. So like that's a 4-year spread, Like there's so much growth that's happening over that time.
Yeah, and then the next record had How You Remind Me on it. Too Bad, Never Again. Those 3 good singles off of that record, Silver Side Up, and then that's when the trajectory changed exponentially.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it's like, boys, we're not playing clubs anymore. Now we're on a sold out global tour playing arenas, and it was like, suddenly everyone's got their own tour bus, and suddenly like it's like, you guys, okay, so what do you guys want to do? Like, well, what do you mean? Like in the show? Well, what can we afford to do? It's like, well, the entire tour is sold out, so you can do whatever you want. I'm like,
shit.
we want to blow up everything. I want tons of pyro. I want lights. I want oh my God, I want everything just chaos up there. Like, and so, yeah.
When you look back at those moments, do you feel like you all stayed level-headed, or did you lean into it?
Fuck you. No, there are moments where you definitely feel like, they're far more rock star than you can imagine, And most of those come in the form of after show parties.
Yeah.
it's just so over the top, so over the top. You know, there isn't a book that you could read, like you could read The Dirt, you know, by Motley Crue, and be like, oh, so that's what it was like. It's like not even close until you're right there experiencing it, and it's fucking wild.
It sounds like
every night.
Yeah, it sounds like a real indulgence, but it really was like when we each got our own buses. Not saying to the expense necessarily, that when that happened, it's like you can have a boiling pot because we're all very different. As he loves to party, some of us weren't like into that. We were married at the time, like to stay married. As Mike phrased it. But it's like trying to share a bus was like really difficult. But once we cut our own spaces, that helps with the longevity of being out and touring, because we toured like crazy. When you can have your own space and you live your own life and still go on stage and do what we do, because when we get on stage, it's I don't know how to put I can't put my finger on it, but just something works. And that's great. And to preserve that, if you can preserve the life off stage, that works.
Yeah, years and years and years in a van, you know, in the middle of winter, going, you know, from city to city in Canada, and there's not a lot of cities in Canada. No, some of these are 16-hour drives to get to the next gig, when the gig before decided just not to pay you, and now you've got to figure out how to get gas. And like, I mean, so the tensions are running high. We're all like just cramped and sleeping in horrible conditions and stuff. And if you can make it through the trenches, when the skies open up and you just hear the angels, you appreciate the shit out of it.
Do you remember the first time you all played together and you realized that something worked?
That was last week.
And not everything.
Things really clicked last week.
Some things worked.
Yeah.
I mean, we would jam together. Mike and I used to jam together initially. I was playing guitar and singing, and had a drummer, and Mike played bass and another guitar player.
I couldn't get in the band.
Yeah, there was incarnations.
I was too young. I couldn't get in the band.
Yeah, so that he was in a band. He got in a band in Camrose,
Yeah.
a couple hours north of us, and so we were kind of doing our thing, and our band would kind of ebb and flow. Right, I was in a band before this when I was like 14. So there were a lot of musicians to kind of play with, and then when this incarnation of us came to life, it was called Village Idiot, and I was playing rhythm and singing backup, and he was playing lead. He was playing bass, and there was a different drummer, and there was a lead singer. So we had 5 of us.
Our cousin was drumming. There was 3 Krugers in the band.
Wow. So that's when we were all playing kind of together. Yeah, that was actually all the 4 members from the initial recording of Curb for Nickelback. We were in a band for about it was 9 months before that, and everything just felt natural, because we kind of been around each other and played, and he got like excellent at playing leads and playing guitar, and so it was like we started kind of gelling there, and then that just went poof. There's no future in playing cover songs.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until, I don't even remember when it went poof. It was probably a couple of years later that he's the one that said, you know what, I got a few songs should we go record these? Like, I got 7 songs we can record. It's just to see what it's like in the studio. Like, yeah, we got nothing else to do. Yeah, let's try it. And here we are.
What made you want to write originals? Was it the fact that like you knew that covers just weren't it, or did you feel like you had a story to tell?
That's a great question. Because we started off, on the cover circuit with another singer, and I think I just realized that we were just never going to get off that cover band circuit if we didn't write our own music. And I was terrible at learning other people's music. Ryan and Mike can hear a song and probably like once and play it back to you easily. I've got to sit there and really listen, and that type of thing for me, I was always like having a hard time figuring it. Like, what is he doing there? Like, where's he going with this, and where's this, and that was tough for me. But creating something, like just making something up, that was far easier for me. I just found that creative side was just such an easier path. Singing something that I came up with, and I never thought, I don't know why, but I never really thought that I was going to be singing. Because I kind of wrote these things, but I sang all the parts, and the next thing we borrowed $4,000, and we're in a studio, and they're just kind of looking at me. It's like,
You have to be the guy.
You're the guy. And I'm like, fuck, I'm the guy. And then I'm in front of a microphone singing. And I'm like,
We only have a day and a half to record these.
And we had a day and a half.
Keep going.
So are you like figuring out your vocal persona right there and then, or do you have an idea?
No, I mean, I kind of knew I was going to be, when I sing, I got kind of a gritty voice. We sang, it's I would sing tons of backups and tons of, all the time on the road. And then I was actually singing in the band that when I was in Camrose and I was 14. What was I, 14, 15, or something like that. I was the singer. But then when we went on the road and we had Scott as a singer, and he was a great front man and he was a great singer. And I was just like, I just got to strum my guitar and sort of just look. I mean, yeah, that's what it's like every night for Mike.
That's great.
He just kind of gets to look around and just enjoy the show. I'm up there
Don't mow his lawn.
Yeah, no kidding. So it was really weird when I'm like,
let's just say there wasn't a stampede to the mic.
No. Yeah, it was just sort of like everyone else just sort of pushed like, dude, go. And I'm like, I guess I got to sing these. So I don't know why I just thought someone else was going to sing all these things that I came up with.
But do you think you guys would be here today if somebody else sang your songs that you wrote?
Probably not.
No.
We'd be way bigger.
They'd be way too busy to show up.
Yeah.
How you remind me, the story behind that record. I mean, is it ripped from your reality, or who are you talking to?
Talking to?
Yeah, I mean, when you were writing it.
Well,
Who are you singing it to?
you're singing it to a wall.
Yeah.
Like
You weren't singing it to a wall. You were singing it to the ceiling.
Oh, that one. That one. Like, well, how you remind me, because I had this little PA system, and it sounded great. Like I just put a little reverb on it, and so then when I played I was actually like, I've got the guitar in the room. I'm not just sitting there with acoustic sort of singing into the air. When you're singing into a mic, and it sounds kind of like it's going to sound on stage, it feels different. Like how you move around the mic and how you use and how you get in, and it's just completely different. And I was living with this girl, and we'd had this argument, and I went downstairs, and I just started like I just cranked the PA because I wanted her to hear every word, and I just started writing this song that I thought was just like a really fuck you to her, and I'm just like started doing the whole "it's not like you to say sorry." I was waiting on a different story, and this time I'm mistaken for handing you a heart worth breaking, and I just start like just singing all this stuff like pretty much to the ceiling.
It just pours out of you.
Yeah, and I'm just like I'm waiting to go upstairs. I'm waiting to go upstairs and finish the fight. And she's like, "Oh, you think that's funny to go downstairs and start singing all this shit about me?" I go upstairs and she's like, "What was that?" And I'm like, "Oh, here we go." I'm like, "Why?" Because it was really good. It's like, it's not the intention. That was not the reaction I was expecting. But I'm like, oh.
Would you say that song's almost like a blessing and a curse, though? Because it was so big and it was everywhere, but it also caused people to be like, all right, enough of these guys, fuck them.
That's their problem. That's not our problem.
I don't think it's a curse at
That's
all.
the dream of every artist in the world, is to have their song played so much that the entire world gets sick of it.
Yeah, but you also
and then do it again. And do it again, and do it again.
That's it. You have so many hits after this record.
So I know what you're saying.
Photograph, Rockstar, what the holy shit.
Well, that's where I think that comes into play, where it's like he writes a great song. It's like a blessing, if you can call it, if that's the term. It's like the best thing we could have had happen, obviously, to introduce us to the world. But then it was things after that where because then they were expecting the next song, so then they put out, was it Too Bad was the next one?
Yep.
I think Too Bad
No.
came out, and then Hero.
Hero came
before
came out at the same time as How You Remind
How
Me.
You Remind Me, yeah.
That's from Spider-Man, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
so it
and
was
that
Hero.
also huge as well.
Yeah, How You Remind Me, Hero, and Too Bad
And then Too Bad was
were
climbing
all
charts.
in the top 10 at the same time.
That
Yeah,
is kind of
that's
where the curse
oversaturation right there.
That's where the curse starts.
But
So
that,
you careful what you wish for. I wish they'd play our songs. Well, they could play them too much, and people will get sick of you.
but
This happens.
also weave you so heavily into the culture of the moment, and a lot of those records go on to live forever. So it is a blessing and a curse, but also you have timeless music that I'm assuming still generates tens and tens of millions of streams every year on records that came out well over a decade ago, 20
Are you
years
calling
ago.
us heritage rock?
I'm calling it timeless.
No.
No,
I know what you're saying.
that's
Like-
that's the goal. that for me, that's the goal. Is like if you're just of a time, and you can only kind of enjoy like, I mean, if it's like I don't know, I can't come up with a perfect example, but if you can have that thing where you can listen to it now and you're like, oh, like this makes total sense. Like I listen to a Tom Petty song or old Springsteen songs. Yeah, if you can have your songs slot into that, and I feel like I hate saying that about our own stuff, but because I'm kind of close to it. But if somebody says that about your music, that's the nicest compliment someone can say about your music, I think.
Do you chase that type of record after you have it? Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, is that like once you see a song react so intensely and deeply, is that something you just long for and chase after? Or at least think about actively when you enter the studio afterwards?
No, sometimes, I mean, on our last record, we made a conscious effort to just make like mostly a rock record, and some of it's not even rock. Some of it's like full metal. There's a song in there called "The Betrayal." It's full metal. I think there's a lot of our fans that might be sitting there going, "Well, this isn't how you remind me. This isn't Rockstar. This isn't this isn't even Burn It to the Ground. This is like, what is this?" And I'm just like, just full tilt, just screaming. That's something we wanted to do.
What do you get out of that?
Oh, it's very therapeutic. Yeah, like it's cathartic for sure.
Do you know? I think I know what it is. It's like I don't think you. I mean, you always it'd be nice to have a song that connects if you want to call it a hit. I mean, sure, it'd be nice to have that. I think what I'd like to chase, and when I hear him come up with stuff and we work on stuff, is like I think you chase I like chasing a good song, something that you like, and you're like, there's a sense of accomplishment when you kind of get something that feels like it works. Whether it connects with people or not, it's to do with does it get an opportunity to get heard? Is the timing right? Timing is so huge for any kind of song. It's huge, and so we're seeing that right now. One of the songs from 7 years ago is all of a sudden taking off, and we're like, we put that out on the album that people actually didn't super connect with.
A funk song.
Yeah.
A funk song.
A song called
I'm like, I want to do a
Up.
funk tune. I wouldn't call that chasing something. I'm like,
but it's chasing a good song. Right?
Yeah,
You just you find something and you go after that song. Right?
TikTok.
It turned out great. And then all of a
Crazy.
sudden TikTok 7 years later picks this thing up and it's just like explodes for us.
What do you think of music now? Because it couldn't get any more different than what it was, right? Like I forget what album it was, but you sold 5 million copies of a single album. Like that is holy shit. Like that's crazy sauce.
Yeah,
like
it doesn't happen anymore.
no,
Yeah.
nobody.
Which record?
It's in my notes somewhere. Hold on. But there is you did sell 5 million.
No.
10.
All the Right Reasons sold 22 million copies worldwide.
Oh,
I'm just trying to
well,
think
maybe
what
it might be at a time frame of like the first
Sure.
yeah,
I'm
Right,
just
right.
trying to think of what album you're talking about. That's all.
I'll get it for you. Hold
All
on,
good.
hold on.
What's that?
I guess it would be.
Silverside's up at 7 just in the US.
I mean, that's crazy,
Yeah,
guys.
it's crazy.
Like
Yeah, we're coming
Taylor
up-
Swift sold over 1 million this year, and the world like went fucking ecstatic.
Yeah.
Right.
Like everybody thought that this was like
Yeah, she also sold out an entire stadium tour in one day.
crazy.
It's weird.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's
wild.
weird coming up in a time when there was like LimeWire and Napster, and like that was the start of all that,
Yes.
right? And so, I how many albums you sell, how many got downloaded, or do you get mad at your fans like as some bands did?
What?
It's like no.
They put food on the table.
No, trust me, I get it. I'm just saying that was the conversation at the time because it was really weird. Album sales it was in flux. It's like, is that the gauge now? Because it's not like you said, she's like the biggest artist in the world, arguably.
Is doing 1 million.
Yeah.
And people think that's crazy.
Yeah,
I know.
because
Bananas.
when Silver Side Up sort of finished doing the bulk of the sales, I think it was at 5 or 6 million in the U.S. Our manager and the record company had like a talk with us. They were like preparing us, guys. Probably gonna do like half this on your next record, so just like don't have these lofty expectations. Like this is usually how it goes, and then it did. And then the next record only did like 3 million in the U.S., I think. And
Tragedy.
yeah, and they're like, this is kind of how it's gonna go now. And I was just like, bullshit. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. And then we went in and recorded All the Right Reasons and had 6 singles off that record. And that
New drummer, nothing to do with it.
and a new amazing drummer, Daniel Adair.
Yeah.
And then that became our biggest album to date.
Yeah, what I really noticed working in the studio with these guys, Chad was just determined. Like every single song, like the time we spent on some of those songs.
it's crazy.
Not good enough. Not good enough. Not good enough. Weeks, months.
Yeah,
Just like
that record was.
That record
the
was
standard was every second of every song on that album had to be fucking perfect.
What's the biggest difference between a Nickelback session and a Three Doors Down session?
the accents.
The accents. Hey, you did your homework. Well, this Chad's
Put on your tap dancing shoes because I'm dying.
I gotta be careful what I say here.
On all fronts.
Do tell us. What is the difference?
All I'll say is that the level of precision, I wasn't ready for that. Like, I've recorded for tons of artists. I was in Vancouver. I was called in to do tons of sessions. You come in, do a couple takes, and talk about ideas, and that's it. And everyone kind of approaches all their parts that way. It was surgical with these guys. Like,
Well, just the scrutiny, like we.
yeah,
you have to be
like
honest with
that
yourself.
level
That
of.
part is-
We'd made enough records
Yeah.
where we didn't have enough money to be able to make things, to record things well, to take the time to do it right. Good enough was used for the first 4 records, and if I ever hear anybody say good enough in a studio, I'll lose my shit.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's not good enough. It's got to be great. Otherwise, why the fuck are we going to hit record?
But do you
If
think
it's-
that's the difference between a successful record and one that doesn't hit its full potential?
That's different. I think that there's a lot of artists that have been meticulous and very proficient, and the songs don't react for whatever reason. That I can't tell
And the
you.
vice versa as well.
I
Ones
agree
that,
with
that just did go in and just let it happen
Kill it.
and turn
Yeah.
it into
Yeah.
a thing.
It's got the zeitgeist, whatever that is, right?
Sometimes you just have the lightning. You know?
But what is it about the strategic precision? Like, does that result in a great product every time?
I think if you're being very critical of yourself, and I mean that of each of us,
Yeah.
when we're recording parts, like just recording something. I mean, you can sit there as a guitar player and play the same riff for 4 hours and not get bored of it because it feels good to play it. Somebody else listening to that is going to be bored as hell after about 3.5 minutes. So it comes down to, is this song worth chasing? Because I'll come to the guys with ideas all the time and play them. This is sort of what the verse would kind of sound like, and this is kind of what the chorus would be like. And you just with that alone, you got a pretty good idea how the thing's going to go. We know sort of stylistically where it's going to go. You might know lyrically, and you know the hook line would be this, maybe at the end of the chorus. You have a good enough, I can bring enough of them to taste the spaghetti sauce. They're going to know what the sauce is going to taste like. Is this something that's worth pursuing, do you think? And then they'll say, yeah or no, you know, and if it is, we might put a little more work into it and then throw it in the vault and then bring it up, you know, when it's time to record, or we just pass, you know.
Is that a new way to do it, or have you been doing that for a
lot
while?
of bands will record like 20 songs and then they'll put 10 on the record. I don't know how you would think that a song is going to improve vastly knowing what the verse and chorus sounds like, and then you record this song and then go, no, it's still a 6, boys. That doesn't make any sense to me. After a verse and chorus, you pretty much know if the song's
Something.
something.
I think strategic precision might not be the best phrase.
No.
I think what, like I know what he's talking about. I think what it was in that, and we've kind of taken that through the following albums, is just having that hard look at some of the parts where, you know, whether it's your part or someone else's part, and we know how to talk to each other about this. We come back. It's like saying, I like this. This doesn't make me want to listen to it again. Like, it doesn't draw me in enough. Is this as strong as it can be? That's, I think, what we're talking about, where you can make something, and then you kind of got to peel it apart a little bit, improve this, and like, that's the kind of stuff. Like, I know we like what this says, but does it fit right? That kind of stuff. You
lyrics too. A lot of time in the lyrics
and musically. Like, we can get in the weeds with this as much as you can, but it's like some songs just present themselves. He'll just like that tidal wave off the last album. The music just got me right away. He played me the music with the phone. I'm like, I don't even know what this is. And this is the best part. You hear a song, you don't know why you like it, but you like it. I'm like, I like this. Let's work on this.
The record was done.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there, and our Pro Tools engineer and producer, Chris Baseford, was just kind of packing up the record, and we were getting ready to mix it, right? And I'm just sitting on the couch sort of fucking around this little idea on an acoustic. And I just come up with this little cyclical pattern. It's really cool. And we had an editor that was there too. And Chris stops doing what he's doing.
Which is also pretty awesome. He recognizes
turns around, and he goes, "That's cool." And I'm like, "This is kind of cool." He's like, "Let's record that."
What is this?
Let's just record that really quickly. And so we've got it. We've got it in the can. You know, we can use it for the next record or whatever. But get in the booth. Let's throw the mic up and just like and plunk that out real quick. And so I did it. And usually it's that'll be enough. But then I kind of went, wait, just give me another track here. Throw another track up. And then I put a little overdub over top of it right away. I'm like, oh, this would sound neat. And then I'm like, give me one more track. And I played one more thing on there. And then I've completely derailed whatever he was doing. But we're all getting really excited because it's like, well, that's just welded. It's just catchy. It's just like, man, that feels good. It feels good to play it. Feels good to hear it back. And I said, what if I said something like, what if I, right at the end, I said, or going into the chorus, loving you is just like surfing on a tidal wave. And he was like, that's pretty good. Go sing that. I'm like, yeah, let me lay this down real quick. And so I started, because it for me, it felt like, if you're in a relationship and it's really exciting, but it's not going to last. That tidal wave, that it's crashing down at some point in time, right? But you're just going to ride that wave as long as you can. That's what it meant to me, And then I started just spitting out a few more lines. The next thing you know, we've got kind of a chorus sitting here. I grab my phone. I call Pete because he's not that far away. He's in Vancouver. And I'm like, hey, listen to this. We play it. And he's like, I'll be over first thing tomorrow. It's one of those things. I'm like, okay, so this is we're chasing. He's like, oh yeah, that's catchy as hell.
Has music gotten more natural flowing or more challenging as years go on?
It depends on the song.
Like a tidal wave.
Yeah, right.
Honestly,
it depends on the song. Some songs, giving birth to these things is hard as hell, and they come kicking and screaming. But there's something good there, and you just keep revisiting. It's like, wait a minute, this, because when there was a song on All the Right Reasons called "Saving Me." We must have rewritten and re-recorded the chorus 3 times minimum. We worked on that song for 6 weeks, and we had the verses, and we knew the verses were great. And then we kept coming up with these mediocre choruses, and it just was not as strong as the verses. It's like it would just be an injustice to the song to let any of those go on, and we just kept going, no, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. And then I just one day kind of sitting there plunking on a guitar and finally went like this. And Joe was sitting on the couch, and I could tell he was fed up. And he was just and then he sits up. He's like, play that again. Do that again. And I was like, yeah, there's something here for sure. And then all of a sudden we went into the chorus, and it was like, there we go. God. Then you've got songs like How You Remind Me, and they just go blah.
And it just
right there. And it's
where does Photograph fall?
Far closer to the easy to record, easy to write. That one really came quickly. And the only thing we did was I apologize. You guys wearing headphones? You probably
no.
The SM7 probably picked up the growling of. You heard that? I was like,
oh, mine's going off too.
I'm hungry. Yeah, Photograph. The chorus of Photograph was the bridge, and the bridge was the chorus. And I'm not sure who said. Was it you? Someone said we need to swap these because
Dave Longo. It was Uncle Dave.
No, it was me.
You?
Was it really?
I always said it was long
I thought it was
know.
Dave. Has Dave been stealing your thunder all these years?
That's the lore. It's fine.
After all these years, you
humble
finally
man.
correct us.
What a humble man. Oh, just let it go.
But that changes the entire
Oh,
song.
you got 1,000 things you want to say right about
I'm not gonna say anything. Memory is an amazing thing.
Yeah, but there was like I spit out this line and I just went, look at this photograph. Every time I do it makes me laugh. And then I didn't really know where the hell I was going. I'm
Do you have anything in your mind?
And I'm like, what photograph would that be? And then all of a sudden I thought of the photograph of myself and Joey. Joey was our producer at the time. And it's New Year's Eve and we are fucked up. And Joe's got this thing on his head that looks like the Stanley Cup. It's this massive wine chiller. Someone shoved that on his head. And then Joe and I are in this picture together. And then I'm like, oh, that's okay. Here we go. How did our eyes get so red, and what the hell's on Joey's head? And then I went, and this is where I grew up. I think the present owner fixed it up, because the house we grew up in was just a shithole. And then it became about. It really turned into all these memories of like growing up in Hannah, and this is where I went to school. Just so many memories from our hometown.
But really specific details.
Yeah.
Surprising or validating that a song like that ends up becoming beyond massive. And again, still lives on today.
Both surprising and validating. Yeah. It's like, didn't see that coming, and wow, does that feel good. So yeah, it's amazing because when these songs, like I still like Photograph hits me. Like it gets me. Like I play that song and it just means so much because like that's where we like that's our youth.
That's your life.
That's like for me that's nostalgia, like into the vein.
That's why the bridge was the chorus, because that's the sentiment.
I miss this town.
I
miss their faces. Yeah.
So, yeah, when I liken it to when he starts something, like when he's talking about how he started the song. It's like those drawings or those things you could get. Like my daughter used to have these things. They got these kind of weird, strange drawings on paper, and then you look at it, and then your brain starts to figure out what that might look like. Oh, that kind of looks like this, and then you start to fill it in. And you look, oh, you can fill this into
like a Rorschach?
Not like a Rorschach. No, like Rorschach? They have these things with these curves and stuff like that. These lines, just like it's a game they play. Like I'll make like 4 lines on there. You draw something out of it. And you look at it, and it's like looking at the clouds. You're gonna come up with some idea what it looks like. He'll come
personification
up with a line or two.
of a cloud.
Yeah. And you'll spit a line out, tidal wave, photograph, whatever that line is, and you start to go, oh, I like that line. Where is the story going? And then you just start making up the story, and he sees the pictures, and then it's like it's home, boom, and then all of a sudden it comes in color, right? That's the vibe I get. When
comes in color. Yeah. That's good.
So
write that down.
Is there anything scary about sharing details about your youth in a song like that?
That's funny.
Statute of limitations, I think.
That's funny.
Bad stuff, anyway.
Oh, I thought you meant. Like, do you mean in terms of?
No.
I mean, you're sharing intimate details.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
The name of your school.
I was talking about his criminal activity.
Yeah. It's funny because when I started off as a lyricist, I was very timid. I was very like guarded. And I just wanted everything shrouded in metaphors. So I knew what I was talking about. And every line meant something to me. But it's just a jumbled mess to anybody else. And they're not. And I really kind of got tired of hearing people say, well, what's this song about? What's this song about? So I guess as a storyteller, I wasn't doing a very good job, right? Obviously. And then to me, when I say I cracked the code of good storytelling, it's when I stopped hiding and just started telling, and the more detail-oriented things got, the better the song would be. And the more it sounded like I was ripping out part of my soul and showing it to the world, the better it was. Yeah. And that, for me, was cracking the code. And I'm like, oh, this brutal honesty because the listener's like, you know, they become very drawn into that.
Yeah, you feel it and apply it to your own existence.
Absolutely.
Do you feel like great songwriters are held back by not wanting to live truth?
It depends on, but there are some great metaphoric songs. Like if you listen to some Pink Floyd, you know, there's metaphors all in there, but he just did a better job of leading you down a path that you knew where he was going. So it really depends on the song, because some songs are painting a picture and some songs are telling a story.
Is Rockstar?
You're really on a roll today.
I'm on a roll
Can
today.
I just say that, like, guys, like, you're a star today. Like you were.
I was a little hungover yesterday.
Yesterday?
I was like, where was this guy yesterday? I want to work with this
You
guy.
should hear
Press
his new
all the
honest.
time.
His new honest song is called "I've Got a Hernia." He lays it right out, like surgically. Can I say that?
Yeah, that's clever.
Is Rockstar a story or a picture?
Both. Yeah, it's because I think when I kind of was conceptualizing the song, it was, what does the average person think, including myself, of
You
what
didn't know anything about it, any of that.
of what like a mega rock star would have. You know, you got 15, hilltop houses driving 15 cars. And then the fun thing was in that writing session, once we knew where we were going with this, we just had to come up with, because it's, as soon as I wanted to get into the list, the grocery list, quickly. So if I could just set this up and let the listener know where we're going very fast. I'm through with standing in line to clubs I'll never get in. It's like the bottom of the ninth and I'm never going to win. This life hasn't turned out quite the way I want it to be. I want a brand new house on then you just start going, then you just go down everything. And for 8 hours, we sat around.
It was hilarious.
Making ourselves, like, we were pissing ourselves laughing with the dumb shit that we were coming up with. And, like, some of the stuff, was just a little too over the top.
Yeah, there's other verses. There's a few other verses that were really.
Yeah, just
Are they recorded somewhere?
a bit much.
Yeah, what are they?
I want 2 stripper poles in my tour bus, and it's like all that sort of shit.
They're like spinners on my Learjet, like just
Yeah,
stupid.
yeah,
stupid
like
stuff.
something. There was something about like picking up groceries in a monster truck. It was just like so over the top. Like it was like what would a 16-year-old buy if you just gave him an open checkbook? Go. And they would just do all of this insane, and party and in the VIP with the movie stars and all the.
And nothing rhymes with 401k, guys. So there's nothing responsible about it, right?
Does that song reflect your reality or manifest a new reality?
It was supposed to just be so incredibly
hype.
over the top.
Yeah.
That's what it was supposed to be. I'm sure. All of us have multiple cars. I don't think any of us have 15. It's.
I think Chad's
just
lived
got the one.
more of those lines than the rest of us have.
You got it.
It
Maybe a
reflects
couple.
hyperbole, I think. I mean, you can see how it blurs as things go along. Yeah. I think your bathroom upstairs is pretty huge, isn't it? I don't think you can play baseball in there, but I remember.
I don't think I
Maybe
want.
wiffle ball.
When we wrote and recorded, it was hyperbole.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hyperbole.
Some of it's come true.
Yeah. I don't think I want 10 other people in my bathtub.
Not anymore. Times are different now. By the way, we do have a new album, and you got to listen to it. You can stream it all on Amazon Music. We're going to put a link in the description below. It is called Get Rollin'. Are you telling a story here, or is he throughout the body of work? Like,
It's not a concept album.
got it. So each song is its own thing.
Absolutely.
How did the album start, and then how did it finish? What song started?
Well,
what song
because
finished?
of the pandemic, we were actually late to the game. Like it was like a year and a half in, and other artists are like, "We're on our second lockdown record." I'm like, "What? we should get together, guys. We should probably do something."
We were just sort of like spectators of the music business for about a year and a half. Because kind of, we used to do that.
Yeah, there was
like
there
I
was a
think
while.
we might have to get to work soon because we're gonna get let out of our houses.
Are we unemployed? Like I
That
kept
was-
going, do I have a job still?
What do I do?
That was going through the vault, as he refers to it, where he's at. We're like, okay, we can't get together. He had a bunch of things that he'd done with another producer and songwriting and with other guys, and so we were like, let's take stock of that and see what we've got. And
but nothing
I
was
don't know,
happening.
No,
it was like it was.
No. I was just gonna say, I think "Standing in the Dark" was of the album was probably the first one I heard because it was way back.
Yeah, like if I got a verse and a chorus,
That's different. Yeah.
It'd be like, okay, that'll go away. And then like 3 weeks later, I'd get out of the pool, and like, hey, we should probably, like the work ethic was at an all-time low / state of wondrousness.
You and most people, honestly.
And then noodle around with something else, and then come up with another idea. And then after a really extended period of time, that's when we started getting together. I'm like, you guys, what is there anything here that we should? Is this worth pursuing? And it's like, you were like Standing in the Dark. That's got to go on there. Let's work on that. And then San Quentin, I had the kind of the music of that mostly, and I just kind of had me screaming the line, and just the line, "Can somebody please keep me the hell out of San Quentin?" And then that was there for a long time. Like we just had these snippets.
You sent me the chorus to Horizon, and I was just like, "That's yes." Like there's a lot of stuff that,
and it's all over the map.
Yeah, it's
because of the time, because we took so long to do it.
Yeah,
that's why it's so.
I don't know if it's cohesive.
Yeah,
I don't think it is, but I think
it's okay. So.
I think it's great.
Yeah,
I love the fact that it ebbs and flows, and it's like you're not getting 45 minutes of just getting hammered in the head, and you're not getting 45 minutes of being put to sleep. It's all over the place.
Does any part of you want any of these records to pop off like any of the past ones? Or do you not give a shit?
Are you out of your fucking mind? Of course.
Just in Japan, we want to be big.
All that, but
we're already big in
Japan. I think you're asking like in terms of, I want to be able to go, and that's why we're working this record, as aggressively as we are, is because I want to play these songs, as much as we play the songs off other albums, Those Days is another nostalgia just piece of gold, for me. So Photograph was really autobiographic. And that one was us talking about, the three of us. Daniel's obviously not from our hometown of Hannah, but that one was really about Hannah growing up, us. Those Days is really about anyone growing up in a specific era, which for me was, for all of us, was the 80s. And because we're talking about all these things, like, because when we were writing that song, I spit out something like, "Remember when the streetlights came on and you had to be home?" And everyone, yeah. And I'm like, no, I think that should be the first line of the song. Yeah. And then we just keep going. So it was "Remember when the streetlights came on and we had to be home." Remember when Elm Street came on, couldn't watch it alone. Remember every prank call we made in Star 69. Remember trying to hit 88 to go back in time. Remember when they played Purple Rain at our first slow dance. Remember when we thought that first base was just holding hands. So we just start going through listing all these things.
But do you start wanting to capture an era, like utilizing that same sort of strategy or concept?
Didn't know until, and rarely do we know until the first few lines start coming. See, if I was gonna,
that was off the cuff for sure.
Yeah, if I was going to write a song, quote unquote, professionally, like if I was going to Nashville to write a song, I would have the chorus in the back pocket for sure, and then you'd use your verses as to describe your main theme. We never do that. We write, like, Nickelback songs are written so unprofessionally because we always just start off with the first line and go, and we have no idea where we're going. And we just find...
Is that a consistent theme through every record you create?
Pretty damn close.
Yeah.
There's very rarely...
Every song is slightly different, but yeah, through every album, yeah.
Now
we just... It sounds like, we've sat in a laboratory and just like cooked these things up, and it's not like that. I think the reason we work so hard on songs is because we write them so ass backwards.
Yes.
And we're just like, you would never... get in a room with a bunch of writers to write like a Hollywood, like if you're going to write a movie, you would know your big climactic moment before you, like, this is what we're going to start. This is what everything's going to,
or something. Like something.
This is our big twist. This is if it's the who done it. This is who murdered and how they got, how they thought they were going to get away with it. And then we lead up to that moment, right? That's how professional, that's how songs are supposed to be written. You're supposed to know what the song is about, like the hook, the tagline, whatever it's going to be, and then you
Build around it.
We're just like do. Like
we're just dragging them down as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we just kind of get there.
I always laugh because I always say it at almost every album. It's like, like he was saying, some bands write 20, 30 songs. We usually write 8 or 9 songs and then struggle to get 2 more at the very end.
Yep.
But you guys always do 11, right?
We always do 11 just to get it over the line. But we work with the songs until they're good. Like especially if we pick them off the bat where we go, yes, this has got potential. Try not to give up on that. You kind of know when you hear something, you're like, maybe not.
Why 11?
We do 11 songs because contractually
Our albums go to 11.
We had to give. That's great. I love that. The Spinal Tap. This one goes to 11. That's great. I'm not even going to finish this answer. I think we should just stick with that. Spinal Tap. This one goes to 11.
Well, the way you were describing songwriting, do you have a real story for 11?
Yeah. So when we first got our record deal with Roadrunner, we had to give them 11 songs.
It's unsexy.
So it was just 11 songs. So every album we just give 11 songs.
Always
and then
Runner.
once the deal was done with Roadrunner, that was our tradition, and we just kind of kept that going. And then we just always put 11 because that was our bit.
Also, there's a capitalist pig element to this, which is when you're under contract, whatever songs you write, they own. And we were like, oh, you want 11 for the record? You're going to get 11.
Oh, because they'd be like, but we need 13.
No.
But we need 13 because we need some B-sides from Japan. And we're like, no.
So they get 11 out of it and you get the others?
No. They get them. They get anything you record while you're under a recording contract, they own.
They get them all.
I thought you were going
They
for
own your
this.
recording rights. So we always just gave them 11.
In our first contract, it said they wanted us to do 14 songs, but they said
But we're only going to pay you 11.
And we're like,
What?
got to backwards kind of. No,
I don't think I like the music business anymore.
What about the other 3?
If you're only, and
They want it for free.
and they tried to justify, well, guys, because like he's saying all this stuff. I'm like, no, if we're gonna be in business together, you're gonna pay us for what we do.
Yeah.
That's
But
how
these
it
other
started.
cats, though, these other cats who like routinely record like 45 tracks.
And they,
That
oh
record
my
label
God!
owns
By the way,
all that
that is
shit.
like very common where
They
people
own
will
all
literally
that.
whittle
The
down
label,
from 45
that's-
or 50.
That's in the vault for the label. The
Yeah.
artist
Yeah,
doesn't
they
get that.
probably
Well, I think
renegotiate
I
that
think
for.
the deals are
Yeah,
different.
I don't
This
know.
is back.
This was
deals
just
are
our
shitty.
specific thing, and then like we just, like it just got to the point where we just always did 11.
it
And
just became
that became our ritual. It's like some people open presents on Christmas Eve, some people open presents on Christmas Day. Our thing, 11 songs.
Every album.
Did you have to scrap a song to fit Tidal Wave on there, though?
Where's
Where's that 12 on
Dan's
that?
been paying attention.
Damn.
What did it replace?
It was a cover.
Oh yes.
Oh.
For the first time, we were going to put a cover on a record, and we'd never done that before.
What was that?
I'm not telling.
The
If
secret
we
track.
say it, it's going to be
Yeah,
all
we don't
over.
want that to get out.
Well, did I play on it?
No.
No, I guess it wasn't sent to me. No.
Well, we didn't finish it.
It's still sitting
That's
there.
the
It's
thing.
still sitting there.
We didn't finish it.
Even I don't know.
It could be in the future.
Yeah.
Was it a cover because you couldn't find an 11th?
Yes.
Ooh.
Let's not.
No, it was early in the
Tantalizing.
Let's not spoil the future, gents.
What cover was it?
I'll tell him.
Can't talk about that.
I don't even know, man.
That's for another podcast.
He's the drummer, and he doesn't
won't
know.
even get to play.
Bastards.
By the way, listen to Get Rollin'. We're going to put a link in the description below. It is there. All the music from Nickelback available on Amazon Music.
You know what threw me off about Get Rollin' was the album cover because it's not very Nickelback of you guys.
It's
Not.
Where'd it come from?
It's not very Nickelback of us.
Very different.
Because
Yeah.
on the record, there's a song that's 70s.
High Time?
Specific, circa 1970 or whatever.
Nailed it.
High Time,
High Time,
right?
you got it.
Yeah, so High Time. So when I say that beat up van I bought you thought was stolen, looked like hell but felt like home to me, I thought we should lean into this. We should just do like 70s everything for this upcoming tour. What's the thing called? The Hang Loose van? What is,
Shaka?
no, the style of. No, it's like cartoon where like the vehicle always looks like a little bent up, like and the wheels are spit like the big Rat Fink. There you go.
Seen those things in the 70s where
Yeah.
Rat and that Roadster or whatever it is, but those old 70s band drawings kind of thing. Weird.
Yeah, like we didn't want to go Scooby Doo with it, but like we wanted to be
Damn close.
But and I was like, it just can't be a van. It can't be a van. It's got to be like it needs like a twin rear axle, like a tandem axle on the back, right?
He wouldn't let that go. He
and-
said they had to have 6
It's
wheels.
got to be over the top. It has to be ridiculous. Now I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something, and you're not going to talk about it, and it's not going on camera, but I'm going to stand up and come over there. I'm going to show this to you.
Oh my God, you sound like a magician.
Yeah,
Don't look. Got a picture of his
David
penis.
Blaine.
It's a picture of his penis. Don't look.
I'm going to resurrect the fly. I'm going to breathe on it. It's going to come back to life.
So you're familiar with the cover?
Yeah.
Oh, sick.
There's a camera there, Chad. Careful.
Where?
No, you're okay. You're okay.
You're out of
Oh,
focus.
wow. Oh, you got this written down.
Wait. You said you weren't going to say anything.
No, sorry. That's
Actually,
sick.
you didn't say anything.
Bro, it's just down the street, actually.
It is.
They're just talking about a burger that Chad had for lunch. It was pretty
What's it like to just be so rich?
That's awesome.
You can literally make 15 of those if you wanted. That's crazy. Where does that live? Who owns that?
It doesn't live anywhere yet, and we're not talking about it. It's a very specific reveal.
shrouded in mystery.
The day that the tour goes on sale.
Sick.
So there's a big thing. So now you know.
Are you saying it on this
Wow.
podcast?
That's
There's a
so
video.
sick.
By the way, we're going to put a link in the description below for any touring information so people can buy tickets, obviously, listen to Get Rollin', the whole thing.
And you'll find out soon what we just saw.
Yes, we'll put a link below to the picture that Chad just showed.
That's really sick.
Yeah.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's wild.
Did you like...
This is like so these are these dumb ideas I'll come up with and again, when I talk about running a high level of bullshit, all I have to do is come in and sell these guys a used car.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, and sometimes I can't get them to agree to this dumb one time I came up with this idea that I wanted to this was a fucking dumb idea. That I wanted a stage to come down from the roof that already had drums on it, and we would step onto it, and then it would pick us up and start taking us across the arena while we continued to play more songs.
And it spun.
Then it would stop halfway across the arena, and then it would start to spin, and then it would continue on down, and then it would come down at the front of plexiglass floor so you could see through it. Yeah,
Wow.
we had extra guitars already on there, so we would pick up guitars and switch for the next
Holy
tune.
shit.
Yeah, this was insane, and then it would go over and then come down at the front of house.
Which, by the way, a lot of artists now do. It's like very common in their set. Billie Eilish, Ariana
Yeah.
Grande, Taylor Swift,
Yeah,
Justin Bieber.
I didn't. So they told us this could be done very cost effectively.
Oh, no.
That was a fucking lie. It was a lie. And then I remember going to Mike. I saw you in the hallway as we were just kind of passing, and we were 10 shows in, and the whole tour was. I mean, those first shows were completely sold. Right to the rafters. I mean, and I look at Mike and I'm like, "This is a great tour." He goes, "How do you figure?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Do you know how much money we're losing?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "We're $1.7 million in debt
Holy shit.
after selling out 10 shows because it's taking 2 days to set this stupid thing up,
Yeah.
and we have to pay overtime. We have to pay all these things that
You
it
can't
was
load out at 6 in
No.
the morning, or load out at 6 in the morning to be 6
It was-
hours down the road.
Is
was
a part of you like a little bummed that you were the first type of people to figure shit out like that, and then over time it gets more streamlined and cost effective? Because
Yes,
I'm telling you,
pioneering,
my
pioneering
friends that,
anything is always a little difficult.
Yeah,
I think
you were
those
the
artists
first.
you mentioned,
Yeah.
though, those artists you mentioned have decided to not make money playing live.
I've got this idea. It's called a parachute.
But there is something in between where you can still keep production integrity and still have some sort of margins that at least pay you something. The truth is Harry Styles is making a fuck ton of money and he's not dangling from anything or hovering above anything.
Yeah.
But I've watched Justin hover, I've watched Ariana Grande hover, I've watched Taylor Swift hover, Billie Eilish. There's no way they're hovering above the crowd and not making money at the end of the
We
day.
also like
those
to
are
keep our
solo
ticket
acts.
prices
Yeah, they're
lower,
solo
though.
acts.
Yeah, that's the
These
other thing
guys
too.
are
We
big.
handcuff
We don't wanna
ourselves by
rate
trying to
people.
keep ticket prices low.
That's it. You're right.
And that's been something we've done for quite a few years. Try to do it. It's almost impossible these days.
You can't.
With touring.
But also, it's 4 of you. There's a lot of expenses now that you look at someone like Ed Sheeran. Are you jealous of the fact that he can just tour with TVs and a pad?
I think it's awesome.
I think that's
No,
pretty
it's
cool.
great.
More power to him.
Good for him.
Pretty sick.
Good for him.
I like minimal stuff.
Absolutely.
That's
It's
sheer talent.
that's fantastic.
Pure and potent.
True.
See, back in the day, I had seen both shows, both types of shows, of other artists, and you'd see the production intensive show and just be blown away. And then you'd see these other shows where you're just wow, you want to put every penny in your pocket. You're not putting, I mean, there's just like the couple par cans up there, and that's it. And then they're just like, no, it's all about the music and the connection with the fans. It's like, fuck off. Like, I could put your music on and listen to it. If I'm going to come to your show, I want to be entertained. And if that makes me selfish, well, then I guess I'm selfish, that I want to come and pay to see you and have you entertain me. And I'm not sure if that's, you know, a bad school of thought. But, you know, when you go see Iron Maiden back in the day and Eddie comes, you know, starts walking out to like, and you can see that they're putting money back in the show.
Totally.
It's like, it's so, it was those kinds of shows where when someone said to us, you can do anything you want, we're like,
You did it.
okay, we want to like, you just go back in the bank of all the great, you know, all those shows that gave you goosebumps. And we were just like, what's happening to my brain right now? This is fantastic.
But also, it's that type of shit that makes people want to come back and see you again because they want to know, like, what the fuck are you going to do next?
Well, they have a good time.
Yeah.
It's a good experience. And that's what we're going to bring them is an experience. Like you said, anybody can just listen to the record. Like you could just ride in your car and listen to the record on the way to the gig and then just turn around and go home. You heard the record, right?
Sure.
But if you want an experience, we want to.
There's two extremes of that. I think there's two extremes. Like, there's some. I honestly think like there. Yeah, you want to entertain everybody, but you can be somewhere in the middle in the sense where like you don't have to always like go. Oh, we need fire on every song. Like that's just gonna wear it out. Yeah. And you can spend all the money you want on that. Whereas you know if you pop up in the middle of the crowd somewhere and they're like, holy shit! I mean, that didn't cost anything, and that could be really cool. Like there's a happy medium of doing that. But yeah, you got to entertain them because the whole goal is to have a great time and come back the next time we come around.
Listen to Get Rollin'. We're going to put a link in the description below. All of Nickelback's music is available on Amazon Music. Also, go see them on the road. See them when they tour. Link in the description below. Did any part of you give any shred of shit when, for some random reason, meme culture and the internet decide to be, I mean, they're assholes every day.
See these questions coming a mile away.
But you gotta, you have to bring it up a little bit because it is so like, you know?
Well,
what do you think?
Just to prove the fact, just to prove it to you, have you seen Look at This Graph?
Yeah.
Look at this graph. Yeah. You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's our music, and we can get that taken down anytime we want.
Totally.
And we left it up because we thought it was funny.
Well, because it actually, I think it actually brings more eyes and ears to you than it takes away. And it's this weird place of like, it's not, you're not canceled. It's just a conversation that's brought up. So it weirdly actually adds to the fame and success.
Yeah.
Weirdly, it does. And we've been saying that for years, too. Like, you know, the same with the hater sphere. Like,
it's a big topic.
But it's like, little do they know, they've contributed to our longevity.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Like,
solidifying you in culture and history.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like, they can, you know, say what you want, but like, all those bands that we came up with that didn't get the hate, they're just gone. Just gone. You know?
And the thing with the hate is nobody actually hates you guys. Nobody knows why they hate you guys.
Well,
our
new T-shirts say Nickelback, fan or liar.
Yeah, exactly. It's just bandwagon hatred.
There's not a lot of thought and calculation that goes into that. To be a hater, you don't really plan it.
No,
you just
follow in the crowd.
Yeah, and you're saying what you think everybody else is going to nod along to.
Yeah.
And if you keep saying what you think everybody's going to nod along to, then that's great. And you know, in a sort of cool way, right now, that narrative is not that popular anymore.
Yeah.
Ryan's got a great story, and I love this story that you told about. Like, so his son, how old's your kid? How old's Dax?
He's a man, 19.
So 19.
7?
I always have to say, my kids, I mean my adults.
Yeah. So his son was, so he's coming up through school, and some kids find out that his dad is the guitar player for Nickelback, and I mean they'll pick on you for anything. You don't need a reason, you know. So if you've got that, that's cannon fodder. So they're picking on him for his dad being the guitar player in Nickelback. His daughter is 2 years younger, and this is how fast things have changed. She goes to this party, and he's like, "Well, how was the graduation party?" She goes, "It was good, except they played Nickelback all night long." So just in 2 years, it's just like boom.
Well, because your songs have taken on new life via TikTok. Like, again, that surge of people, like, just having a come up conversation brings new eyes and ears to what you do that eventually leads to people caring about it, because at the end of the day, the conversation's brought up because the songs are too catchy and too meaningful, and when you hear it, you are transported back to the first time you heard that fucking song.
Sure.
Like, there is real power behind the records that you've crafted and the hits that you have in terms of how unique they sound, how distinct they are, and how emotionally triggering they are. So, I mean, like, at the end of the day, we're talking about a conversation and a fad that's actually built on appreciation more than it's built on any sort of hatred.
I think there's a gauntlet that we have to run, though.
That's what I was going to say.
There's a gauntlet we have to run, because we got on stage and we presented, I think it was a Billboard Award. It might have been a I think it was a Billboard Award, to, who was it? Def Leppard. We were in Vegas. We get off stage after presenting the award, and Joe Elliott and Phil Collin, they're back there, and they say, "Hey, we got to thank you." For what? For taking the torch. Which torch? Most hated band in the world. And it's like, oh, you guys were the most hated? Like, oh, absolutely. For years, when Pour Some Sugar on Me came out, he said we were the most hated band in the world. We, the AC/DC guys, we were in Chicago. And we went out.
What else did they say?
Remember that? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, they said
You wrote a song.
they said if you write one more song with one of our song titles,
if you write a song called "Pour Some Sugar on Me."
Yeah,
we're gonna fucking see.
Because we had Photograph and
and
animals on, even though.
Yeah, Joe
I never thought of that either.
Like, if I see Pour Some Sugar on Me coming out of you guys, we're coming.
So funny.
That's the cover on the new album.
Yeah, there you go. So then
Was that the cover song?
we were in Chicago, and the AC/DC guys invited us out for dinner, and we go out for dinner, and Brian Johnson says the same thing. He goes, "Oh, when Back in Black came out, we were the most hated band in the world because it was just so overplayed, And then he goes on to tell these stories. He's like, when Zeppelin first came out, they were hated.
I don't really buy it.
And so,
Especially the States.
Yeah,
so I mean, there is this thing, like, if you're like, I don't mind being in that company with, Def Leppard, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin. If you're going to be, if that's what it takes to get to that status, and you've got to go through, being the most hated band in the world for a while.
It's all okay.
I think it'll be all right.
I don't think the whole most hated band, I don't think that's really valid. I don't buy it. I think you're in the focus.
Yeah.
And you're really loved at that time too, because at that time when Def Leppard was quote unquote the most hated band in the world, they're also the most.
They're also the biggest band in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Same with AC/DC.
Yeah.
Same with Bon Jovi. Same with Metallica. All these people that were hated in their heyday. That's a crock, dude. People were loving them. There's just a handful of. It's always the negative that goes the hardest, right? You compare hate and love. Hate always is more potent.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So, I don't buy it.
commiserate
Like the
over
whole
hate.
most hated thing. It's
Has
just
anyone had the chance to talk to that Brian Posehn comedian that kind of started this whole thing?
That's funny. We just had this conversation this morning.
That was the Comedy Central commercial.
Yeah, that's the guy that that went viral. Like he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the commercial that Comedy Central used for like 6 months. It was just nonstop.
Yeah.
I met him.
You did.
I ran into him. I didn't meet him. I ran into him at the Anthrax Black Label Society concert at the Palladium about, I don't know what it was, 2 or 3 months ago. And I was like, no.
Oh, come on.
You know what? It was one of those things where I don't want to go too much into my thoughts just because it might not make me sound like the nicest guy in the world. I just kind of felt like
he made a joke. That's it.
no,
He made a
yeah,
joke.
I know.
Comedy
I didn't feel
Central
like
is the
it
one that
was
made it
so-
into a commercial and
totally.
played it for
So
6 months.
Well, by the way,
I feel
they-
like it should be done.
They
I didn't feel
monetize that
it.
like nobody's business.
Oh, for sure. This is the strange twist, I think. So I watched, saw a video with Colin Quentin because it was for his show, talking about this, and he spoke about this, and like he's like, I didn't know like that was happening. Like you, it's almost like he parallels what kind of happened to us, where you get this oversaturation, and then something happens because of it. Where he said, he had this show, they had this bumper ad or wherever it is with this joke in it, and it was right when Comedy Central was just
Popping.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
You had South Park going on, and the Jon Stewart show was on, or something like that, or like it was like everybody had the eyes on that,
Yeah.
and they just played that between every show. And he goes, it was actually quite nice to hear him say, he's like, I didn't realize this happened. If I knew it was going to be, affecting somebody's life or career, I probably would have told them to pull it or stop or change it or something like that. But they just play it, and then it becomes part of the public narrative.
Totally.
So and that's why people are kind of going now. I feel like they're like, well, why did almost like waking up out of a fog? Why did we do this again? It was because
Totally.
it just was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, by the way, just because you shove something in front of people's eyes doesn't make it a valid part of the public narrative. You know what I mean? And I think that's really interesting that, and this goes back to like, even at the top of this conversation, you guys became a band and reached the highest heights of success at a moment in history and media that will never be repeated again. Like the idea that there is even that many fucking eyes on comedy, like if you were to make that same joke today, based on the ratings of Comedy Central, nobody would fucking see dick.
Yeah.
Literally nobody would see anything. Nobody'd be talking about it. It'd show up nowhere.
Yeah.
It would not even remotely matter at all.
Yeah.
But because of what was going on in the time that we were in, the focus was so narrow to just, I mean, it wasn't what it used to be, but still will never be that ever again.
No.
There'll never be a moment in time where tens of millions of people are tuned into Comedy Central over even a week's period of time.
Right.
Let alone what was probably a day back then.
Yeah. No, absolutely, right?
Totally different.
I don't even know if that's good or bad.
Well, and our attention
There's probably
spans,
good and bad to that.
with what we're inundated with
Crazy.
constantly, it's just like, it's not even here today, gone tomorrow. It's here.
Second.
This 10 seconds and gone in 10 seconds.
And you want to move on so quickly.
Yeah.
You have a craving for something new and different.
Yep.
It's really unique.
Yeah, it really is.
Like there'll never be another band like y'all.
Well, if I slip on stage.
Wait, who are we going to give the torch to?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, someone's got to take it.
How do you define success today? And then we'll get you out of here because I know you have a lot of shit going on.
How are we finding success today?
Yeah, how do you define it?
How do we define it? Oh, I think being truly, I mean, it's a little bit Confucius, but, that whole work a day, do a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life type thing. That's success. Like I've got buddies who are, electricians, plumbers, mechanics, and they are, they've got the girl that they love and they've been with them for 10 years. They come home every single day. They do the same, every week. They go golfing every weekend, and they absolutely love their lives. Now, I don't think that you have to become, an Oscar winner or a rock, successful rock band, to have that. I think it's all in the eyes of the beholder. And there are moments where, when I look back at some tours where we didn't sleep in our own beds for 18 months. And there's my buddy Greg, just
In your bed?
happy as hell, doing his job, going through his life the way he absolutely loves it. I mean, that's success. So it's truly in the eye of the beholder.
I think when you we get
In your bed.
just trying to follow along.
And there's Greg.
Yeah,
There's Greg.
What are you doing here, Greg? Again?
Damn it, Greg.
No, I think I hear that. I think when people hear the word success, I think today, especially a lot of kids, that think money and fame.
Yeah.
And it's like I think you conflate the money and fame and happiness all together, which is like a complete it's a fool's errand. Daniel?
I think my answer is to crush your enemies before you and hear the lamentations of the women.
Perfect.
Someone's watched Total Recall.
myself.
I think if you wake up every day and you can chase what you want to chase as far as interests and whatever that is, and we do stuff besides music, so it's like if you're able to do that and have the freedom to do that, like say to be happy with what you're doing every day, that's a success for me. It really is.
Beautiful. Get rolling. That was nice. Yeah, smoke it.
I'm so high right now, guys.
Edibles are kicking in, bro.
Get Rolling is the album. Listen to it. We're going to put a link in the description below. Also, see Nickelback on the road. They're going to be hitting the road, right?
You betcha.
Yes.
Let's
Tickets
go.
on sale.
Let's go.
January 23rd.
That's
And they play
cool.
the hits.
Yep.
A lot of artists won't do that, you know.
Yep.
I saw one girl, she's an artist. I don't want to say her name because I don't want to throw her under the bus. But she only has one huge song. And I see her at fucking Coachella. And she plays 30 seconds of it. And she goes, I'm done playing it. I play it all the time. Like, that was her shtick.
Wow.
She played 30 seconds of
What
it.
a
You just
bummer.
put your career on stopwatch.
Totally, right?
You know, like you're
That's
okay.
But you know what? That's everybody's choice.
You can
Like,
do
just
whatever
let
you
it,
want,
Let it
yeah.
play out how it's
Yeah,
going to play
That's
out.
it. Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
That's right.
It's okay. You know, I don't mind getting selfish and playing something that we like 1 or 2 songs, but you gotta, we gotta make this a party.
But you got to admit, there's something a little, about going. Yeah, I know everybody loves this,
Yeah,
but
she
I'm not going to
starts
do
it.
it. You know, it's just like,
Fuck
Oh,
you.
if she's
That's
doing
a little
If she's
selfish.
doing it as a
That's a
finger in
little
the eye,
selfish.
yeah,
Yes.
that sucks.
It's bullshit.
No, that's
Yeah.
no good.
or I'm tired of playing this mega hit every night.
And that's her last song. And by the way, it's not even that big of a fucking hit.
Tell us who it is. Tell us who it is. No,
Don't-
don't say
don't
it.
say
No.
it. Don't
I'll
say
tell
it.
you off the air.
We're going to drop
That's
it. I picked it up already from what you just said.
Nickelback, everybody. Listen to Get Rollin'. There's going to be a link in the description below. Also, see these guys on tour. You're really icons. Thank you for giving us your time and energy today.
Thank
Dan,
you, man.
Zach,
Thank you.
thank you so much for having us.
Great.
That was great.
Oh,
Thank you guys.
Nickelback.